Hi chefs, today we're making biscuits and gravy rolls, and this is a blending of so many incredible flavors and things that are comfort food. First of all, we have rolls, bread, comfort food, and then we also have this gravy which has really decadent sausage in it, and it's going to be made with, of course, our Garden Gourmet Nestle sausages. And then inside the rolls, as well as in some of the glaze on top, we're actually going to be using the Carnation new vegan condensed milk. And it's all going to come together and be great for a snack, for a dinner party, or your favorite brunch. Carnation milk by Nestle is a vegan product, completely separate and brand new. So we're going to start with our rolls. We need to mix up water with some of our vegan egg. That's right, this is something called BUNS egg, which we've developed, and you just need to mix this up. This recreates the egg of a chicken. This provides all the functionality of an egg in our rolls. BUNS egg is a vegan gastronomy product, and you can purchase it in the link below. Now here I have our flour, which has been sifted, and I put in some salt. You can either use fresh or dry yeast, and I'm going to be using fresh yeast today. So that's going to be part of my wet ingredients, which I'm going to be adding in a second. So just get your mixer all set up, and then you're going to be adding your wet ingredients to the dry. The first thing I'm going to be adding is that vegan egg. Just add it slowly. Now we're using plant milk here. This is soy milk, but you can use any plant milk you like. It's really important to use unsweetened. So the dough we're making today is actually a brioche dough, which if you can tell by the name, it's French. And in the South, of the United States, there's so much influence from France and the French cuisine. So there's Creole food, and so much of this food is very, very decadent. And so there's a lot of butter in this. So that's why we're going to be putting in a lot of butter into this dough and making it very rich. And now into this rich dough, we're going to be putting this condensed milk. So yes, a lot of it's going in there. It's going to be very decadent. This condensed milk is a little bit darker in color than traditional, but don't be afraid. It can be swapped out just the same. Nestle's Carnation condensed milk, which is all vegan, is made from rice and oats. So now our fantastic brioche dough has all come together. I'm just going to lightly grease a bowl, and we're going to be proofing this until it about doubles in size. You can do this on your bench, or you can do it if you have a nice warm area of your kitchen, or if you're like us, we actually have a proofing machine in our oven that I'll show you in just 1 minute. Look at that gorgeous brioche dough. I should learn how to say fabulous. Fantastique, maybe in French.
So this is a brioche dough with no eggs?
No eggs. This is a brioche dough with 0 eggs and 0 butter. Now I'm going to pop it into our proofer and let it double in size. So we're stuffing these brioche rolls with a really rich sausage type of gravy. So we're making our really decadent sausage gravy with the sausages from Nestle. Now they come out of the pack in this whole sausage size, and you just want to defrost them and then chop them into nice small bits, because a traditional gravy has little chunks of the sausage in it. Over here I'm heating up my pan with a little bit of olive oil in there. Now, this recipe was inspired by the South and Southern cooking And I will let you know, in the United States, in the South, you know, there have been years and years of people eating rich and decadent food. Because in the South, of course, we had a history of slaves and people of color, Black Americans, African Americans that were living down in that area. And they oftentimes were eating very, we would call it peasant food, you know, very low cost food, cuts of meat that are really, really high in fat. And we in vegan gastronomy have had so many students through the years who are Black Americans, African Americans that have come and they've trained with us. They were curious because they saw in their own communities that their people, their relatives were dying of diabetes, of high blood pressure, heart disease, and so many of these, what we call diseases of affluence. And they wanted to come and train with us. And they said, you know what? Of course, we hate the fact that our people are dying. It's horrible. We realize so much of it is related to food. But at the end of the day, the students kept saying to us, no matter what, we still want to have food that tastes incredible. So yes, we know some of those traditional foods can be really dangerous for us, but we have to recreate foods that still have tremendous taste and are low cost. We've had a lot of African American students that have come to our school. They've come from all over the US, but most specifically from the southern parts, from Atlanta, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, even Arkansas. And time again, they've said they have to have that flavor or that taste. They want food that has to be comforting and filling to remind them of the foods they grew up with. And this sausage, thanks to Nestle, really captures that flavor. So we have Nestle for sausages, and we also have Nestle for condensed milk. So where can you find these products? Well, we're in Greece and we found them. So if you're in the UK or the USA or Australia, just look at your own local grocer. I'm sure you can find them. Now remember, this is Southern food. This is inspired by very decadent, filling, flavorful, and rich Southern food. So we're combining a lot of flavors. This has flour and butter, of course all vegan. This is not something you want to eat before you go run a marathon. So once you get your meat browned, now you want to add in your flour and then your vegan butter or margarine. So we're creating kind of like a roux. Now, while this sausage is extremely flavorful, we're amping this up a notch because remember, we're putting this inside of our brioche, our decadent brioche rolls. And we say brioche, think a donut. You know, many people around the world will know what a donut is, but a brioche is a real fancy donut. In fact, donuts are made with brioche dough. So we're using the same types of flavors for the dough. So we want to make this inside the sausage gravy even more succulent and flavorful. So I'm adding even a little bit more spice. This is some beef seasoning to make this very rich. So if you're watching this and you're hearing the word brioche and you're thinking French, but we're talking Southern USA, you might be scratching your head going, what are they doing? But nowadays, people are curious about blending flavors and trying new cuisines. You know, the French have always been known for their food. And people around the world love rich food. Sometimes it's a little scary. They don't quite know what to eat. But if they know something is a little bit similar to their local of like biscuits and gravy, this has a French twist to be a little bit more out of the box. Now, it wouldn't be French food if we weren't putting cream in. So this is plant cream as well as plant milk. So this is going to be making our thick, rich sausage gravy that's going to go into our brioche rolls. So now, once you have your sausage gravy all combined, you want to make sure that you reduce it by about 2/3, and then you're going to let it come to room temperature before you stuff it into your brioche rolls. So we're going to put it on this tray to cool it off even quicker.
I've been I would say, well, I've been working all my days.
Now that our dough has doubled in size, you just want to punch it down, and now we're going to be scaling it. We're putting it into 12 equal balls of about 80 grams. I'm going to show you a couple here. Make sure you have a good, accurate scale for your brioche. Once you get your desired weight of 80 grams, you just want to ball this. Then we're going to be proofing it again, letting them rise. I have to admit, I find it quite interesting that when you think of French food, you might think of haute cuisine, very fancy. But this dish, which is French inspired, is really also a very lowly peasant dish. I'm so inspired by Nestle and Carnation by bringing these ingredients to market so that we can make this incredibly delicious, low cost, and still healthy dish available to the general masses. So now, remember, after we have all of our flour proofed and we've knocked it down, now we're going to be scaling it into 80 gram or about 5 tablespoon balls. So these have already, this is one I already weighed out. You want to do this with a scale, but again, if you don't have one, that's fine. It's about 5 tablespoons by volume. You just want to create a nice little ball, and then we're just going to create like a little cage with your hand. Just roll that around, and we're going to let that rest on our bench for about 5 minutes. So now I'm going to show you how to stuff your sausage rolls. Remember, we have these divided into 12 equal sized balls of about 80 grams, which is about 5 tablespoons. And then you want to have your bench lightly floured. You want to roll them to about 8 millimeters or about 1/3 of an inch thick. So you want to roll it in a nice diameter. It's going to be a little bit thicker in the middle, and then we want the edges to be a little thinner. That's because we're going to be crimping it or pinching it, putting all these, the edges will be on the bottom of our roll. And then you want to take about a heaping tablespoon of our sausage filling, which has been cooled, and put that in the center, like so. And now comes the fun part. You can do this on the bench or in your hand, and you just want to start creating like a flute or a flowering effect, and we're going to be just stretching this slightly and creating our sausage in the pocket. Ooh, see, it's so wonderful and rich and decadent. Pinch it there. Keep stretching it, pinching it, stretching, pinching. We want to get a nice, tight seal there. And then over here, we're going to be proofing this one more time for about 30 to 45 minutes. So I have all 12 of these nested nicely. It's going to come out, actually, if you've ever had hot cross buns, it's going to look very similar to that they're going to be all nested and in a wonderful pan. But you can spread them out if you like. I'll do one more here if you'd like to see. I have my nice even area on the bottom. So my seam is going to be here and on the underside. So once again, you want to make sure as you can, keep all those air bubbles out. Make it thinner on the edges. And these are going to be just fantastic for snacking, for a fancy brunch, for a dinner party, or whatever you like. A little trick I like to do is actually put the filling a little bit more toward the one end. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. And then now we're just going to start crimping this. If you've ever seen some of those folks in the Asian restaurants, this is how they make some of those dim sum. They're really excellent about how they can do them so quickly. I think they're probably in Guinness Book of World Records. Remember, we're going to proof these for about 30 to 45 minutes until they get bigger. So just before your rolls are ready to go into the oven, we want to put a nice little egg wash on them. But we're not using eggs, of course, because this is vegan. So we're using a combination of two things. Once again, our vegan egg powder, which is paniseg, and then we're just going to be mixing that into some plant milk. Now, once again, this isn't sweetened soy milk, so you just want to combine that really nicely. And then we'll be washing this on, just brushing the tops of our rolls, and then they'll be baked. So now our rolls have proofed to about double in size. We're just going to brush on lightly that egg wash, gently, and then we're going to pop them in the oven for about 17 to 25 minutes, or until they get golden brown. So now we've brought the rolls out of the oven. Don't those look incredible? And now I'm actually just going to brush on a glaze made of vegan butter or margarine with some more of that Nestle Carnation condensed milk. I just put those two together and I melted those in the microwave. So it makes this fantastic consistency. And I'm just going to brush that on and give a fantastic sheen to these rolls to make them even more decadent with that brioche dough and that sausage, biscuits and gravy kind of filling. These are so easily pulled apart, and then you can pop it straight onto your plate and get ready for your belly. And now, a moment of truth. Try it. I know a lot of people from the South and the world over are going to love to see this recipe.
Oh, blue dog, that rabbit, run him a dollar mile.